What's up, nerds? This is the Aligning Stars podcast. I'm Jordan.
I'm Matt.
And we are here to talk a little Star Trek today.
It's Star Trek time, baby.
Yeah, we were just talking about this, and the realization has set in, and I could be wrong, it could be a little longer, but I believe since August, there has only been like a couple of weeks where there hasn't been a new episode of Star Trek on every single week.
Ongoing.
And it's for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. We're gonna get Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, Prodigy. We have Discovery Season 5. We have Picard Season 3, which is / TNG Season 8.
Which is all but that the last part of that. Where there's not gonna be more of that, but
right. But I mean,
Strange New Worlds.
And then we have, obviously Strange New Worlds Season 2. They just got renewed for Season 3. They're already getting ready to start filming that. I mean,
Plus the rumors of Section 31 show.
And movies and everything. So, the Star Trek world is very alive right now. And it's interesting, with Star Wars being in the condition that it is, where the fans are really having a tough time. And, in Star Trek, it's a little bit too. But, man, let me tell you, we're here to talk actually just about Strange New Worlds.
Specifically. There was other ones that we missed, but if we go back and talk about all that stuff, we'll be here forever,
and it's old news.
So we'll go back and talk about some of that stuff, as it comes up,
right? And we'll kind of theme some of we're planning on doing some smaller episodes, so we'll kind of theme around it. But today we're here to talk about Strange New Worlds and Pike's Peak. And we were just laughing about Pike's Peak thing, and if you're not aware,
thank you for taking my closing funny. I'll have to think of another one while we record. So
yeah, I'm an asshole.
Pike's Peak. Yeah, we were talking about Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds and Pike's Peak. We've known about Strange New Worlds for a couple years now. Season 2 of Discovery has come and gone a long time ago. And so
pandemic, which slowed all that down. But
it's crazy to think
we have it now.
It's
great.
I'll start. I guess the only thing that I would like to start with is I want to start with the opening credits and the theme.
I love that opening. The visuals is like a callback to so many other Star Trek openings.
Absolutely. It actually, when you look at it, it's a part of every Star Trek opening.
You have Voyager, you have Deep Space Nine in there. You have
Next Gen
TOS.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's the easiest one to reference.
Well, of course, because the music theme is actually directly based off of that.
But you got this Discovery stuff, too, in there.
Absolutely.
I don't remember, but there's probably some Picard stuff. And, we're mostly talking about ship movements and shots. But,
right.
It's so good.
It really is.
For someone who didn't grow up watching TOS, and really the biggest soft spot for me is the movies for TOS. Any excuse to hear any version of the original series theme is incredible.
Absolutely.
It's as close as I can get to inserting myself into the past and pretending
that you were there.
I'm there. This is I've been here for the whole trek, guys.
Right.
I've been here since the beginning, and what a callback. That's a harsh call out on myself there.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
For you, the Next Generation was over.
Next Generation was over. It was I'm a 95 baby. So that was nearing the last half of DS9, because DS9 ended in 97. 99, that's right. Yeah.
So you're coming in about season 3.
So season 3. I got that mixed up.
93 is when I remember actually where it was.
When did and
Voyager was 97.
Voyager was 97. That was what I was thinking of.
No, 95. Because
that's what. Okay, that's
2001.
what I was thinking of. Okay,
so, wow, we just
wow, yeah. There was a Star Trek with my year somewhere
in there. But this theme, like, it's just the love that they're paying attention to the Enterprise. Oh, it makes me so happy.
Seeing the ship. Let's get all of the surface level stuff out of the way, because there's a lot to talk about that if it was inserted in to the episodes, it'd bog it down a bit, I think.
Absolutely.
The ship design, it carry over for the most part from
the original series, right?
Well, obviously the original series, but Discovery.
Yeah, they did modify it a little bit. I think that what they did, and I brought this up to you as well, what they did was they basically made it make sense for the refit Enterprise.
The angled.
Yeah, they changed the nacelle angle. They shortened the neck a little bit. They did a lot to just make, like, they hardened the edges of the hull, for instance. So it wouldn't be that much of, like, because, like, in TOS to the movies, like, what it was we missed phase 2, right? We missed that whole second sequence of Star Trek that was supposed to happen in the mid-70s with the new design of the Enterprise. And it was actually supposed to be the 1701A to begin with. It was implied that the Enterprise was destroyed at the end of the 5-year mission. And so, complete new ship, new design for the Constitution, but they chose not to do that. But what they done is they did the nacelles were swept back in Discovery Season 2, but the design of the ship overall matches more with the design of the refit Enterprise that you see in the movies, which is great because it just, once again, like, if you're going to do something with canon to switch it and change it, make it make more sense for something that's later on, right? And, like, and the other side of it too is, the thing, I'm not going to bring it up right now because there's something that, I brought up to Matt in the very beginning of all of this that, I've got a feeling of how, like, the sequence of Star Trek goes, right? And so, but just to kind of to wrap up, for my point of this, I think that I agree, like, kind of touching on some of those themes, because we could get bogged down in the individual episodes. So.
The uniforms, for the most part,
spot on.
I like them. The little Delta pattern. It reminds me of those, like, rubber things that you see on some things. I like agree. The texture things.
I agree.
It's not my favorite. But again, like, if I could have the Discovery, like, Enterprise, like, those were the high. Again, there's tiny little things that, like, really what I'm looking for, like, in my mind is, like, the sort of, like, late, like, sort of like the next gen movie, like, style, like, or like the Picard style uniforms, but more of a hard, like, callback to the TOS. It's a weird thing in my head, but, like, I don't have a problem with the uniform.
Nor do I.
They look good.
They really do. And the thing that I kind of get from them too is, like, it feels like kind of like a natural evolution. So, like, when we meet Pike in season 2, like, he comes in the yellow uniform, but it's basically the gold uniform that's just a modification of the Discovery era uniforms, right? And it would make sense that it's been about a year, 6 months, right? About a year. I mean, so uniform designs do change, and we do see in Star Trek that, like, there are several different uniform designs, and that actually comes from Star Trek Online, which is actually really fascinating. But
as we were saying, that's a running theme.
It really is a running theme, but they obviously wanted to separate Strange New Worlds from Discovery.
Right.
And I thought that they've done a really good job of blending the two. I really do like the uniforms for Strange New Worlds. I really love, like, number one, Una Chin, Riley. I love the dress style uniform that she wears. Like, it's just this little hallmark, this little throwback. And I love how Uhura is constantly changing her uniform scheme.
So yeah,
it's like she bounces back and forth between like regular duty uniforms and cadet uniforms, and like I really love.
I do love the formal uniform.
Though. Oh, the dress uniform.
The dress uniform is amazing.
It really is.
Like when Uhura shows up in like is the first or second episode.
It was the second episode.
Yeah.
That dinner scene was fantastic.
The dinner scene was amazing. But I'm like, oh, that looks good on you. Oh my god.
And she is like legit cute. So like
I love Uhura so much.
Yeah.
The only uniform complaint I have is the green top.
Yeah, that fell short.
That one's like almost. I feel like there was a little too much.
Yeah,
there was something that could have been subtracted that would have made it
could have
better.
just been the same material but green. They did not need to add.
That's the only one. That's the only one I'm willing to point out.
I would definitely.
But it's not a loathe. It's just like
yeah. And another thing too that I'd like to really kind of explore before we talk about episodes and stuff like that is like how it feels like these characters are just well thought out,
very well
fleshed out. Like
they have their moments together with a different like. Well, I'll probably say this again during the episode, but each episode you get a different dynamic, different character interactions with the majority of the bridge crew.
Yeah,
so you get to see how each character interacts with other characters and what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and how they interact, which I love. The first episode did an amazing job of that.
Oh my god, the first episode, I would argue that Strange New Worlds has the best first episode of all.
Easily, I think
the best pilot.
The best pilot that I've seen in the best pilot I've ever seen in Star Trek so far.
Yeah, is
that one.
Yeah,
you get a very good idea for who these characters are, how they're going to interact. You may not know them really well yet, but you get an idea of their general how they carry themselves.
Absolutely. You know,
the only thing that knocks against the pilot is it having to build off of the end of Discovery season 2.
Well,
that's the only thing. That's
the only
thing.
It's a spin-off though when you think about it.
Yeah, and you
have to. The same thing happened in DS9. Like, same thing. You get this conflict. Well, in DS9, it's interesting because you get the conflict between Picard and Cisco.
You do have that, but like it also being like the consequences of Wolf 359.
And also all of the groundwork that they laid in those episodes when they started introducing Ro and what have you, and the Cardassians, like
Bajorans,
Cardassians, Bajorans, they knew what they were doing with this, and so it's the same sort of thing. I found it really interesting when we meet Pike in the beginning of it. You know, like he's. You know, like obviously we're going to be dealing with this struggle of his for this entire show.
I was going to say, is he Obi-Wanning?
He did.
Yeah.
I mean, he
a little bit.
When Admiral April comes up to him, he's like, "Bob, you don't want me running that ship." And he's like, "Yeah,
I've seen some shit.
I seen it." You know,
I can't tell you. It's classified.
That's right.
3 times in the episode, it's classified.
It's classified. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, but also as well in that first episode, like the callback to Pike being nostalgic about things and the old school flat screen TV.
Yeah, which is so good. I didn't catch that until someone pointed it out.
Yeah,
on
Twitter. It wasn't until you pointed it out to me as well.
And it was like that. He had a retro tube TV.
Yeah, in his quarters.
Yeah, in the pilot.
Yeah,
and I love it, which makes the joke about that. What's her face?
When in the Q&A,
the other captain goes like, phone's ringing, which makes that joke even more funny.
Exactly, because it's actually his communicator sitting in front of an old school phone. Which is really great.
I love it. It's
man. Like it's just once again like the characters feel fleshed out. It feels like we're not getting those introductions, and when those introductions are happening, they're quick and the actors themselves are fantastic. Like, I'm actually seriously in love with Nurse Chapel.
Same.
I've got a huge crush. A huge crush.
3 favorite like big time crushes for Strange New Worlds is Uhura, Chapel, and Ortegas.
Really?
Yeah.
I've always wow. So we're here in this part of the podcast.
We weren't planning on this. Oh God.
No, it's not. It's not going to smash pass kill.
No, yeah.
So, but I would say for me, I've always been a huge fan of Rebecca Romijn. I kind of wish that she had kind of kept that sort of look that she had in Discovery season 2.
It is a different look. I didn't realize until afterwards.
Well, she has lost a lot of weight, and that was the thing. And so,
really?
Yeah. Like, she's gotten a lot skinnier, and she was thick with 2 C's in Disco season 2. And I was like, yes, please. But she is just flat out. So for me, it's number one.
Number one, yeah.
And then Nurse Chapel, and then Uhura for sure. Just beautiful women playing these characters, and they're great actresses.
Talented.
We're gonna talk a lot about Anson Mount here soon.
Yes, but also handsome man.
Very handsome dude. Like, I mean, for me, like, as I'm getting towards 40, he's only like 6 years older than me. So I'm like, man, I need to keep working on this shit.
I'm sorry, you won't be able to match his hair, but
no, his hair is a whole character in and of itself. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if someone's created a Twitter profile for it already.
Oh, they probably have. If it exists, I will put it up on screen.
So I mean, but yeah, I mean, like the actresses, the actors, like I love, Mbega, his character, fantastic. You feel like he's this excellent blend between like Crusher. And I feel like it's kind of like this blend between Crusher and the surliness of McCoy and the knowledge of Phlox, right? Like he feels...
Or Bashir.
Bashir, yeah, well, I would say Bashir because...
Enhanced.
I would actually say, like you see in Bashir, the very first thing that, is asked of him, like, why are you out here? And he's like, I love being on the frontier, right? I want to be at the head of frontier medicine. That's what Mbega is. I mean, they're on their 5-year mission. I mean,
Strange New Worlds.
Spock is really just, I mean, Ethan Peck, we're lucky. I'm going to back up real quick. This cast is so fantastic.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
Just like, I mean, the 3 main characters, Anson Mount, Rebecca Romijn, and Ethan Peck fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they nailed it in season 2 of Discovery. Like, I mean, this show was never planned. It was never planned. It was because of the 3 of them that it had to happen. And the love that they have for Star Trek makes it so fun. It makes it so good, And so... yeah, it's been cast well, and the lead characters, the supporting characters, just everyone, like even the side characters themselves are just absolutely amazing.
But the one-offs and also the stories, have been written incredibly well.
Oh, like let's just dig right into episode 1. So I mean,
Fallout from Discovery.
Absolutely. But they did it in such a way that was so fascinating. That was such a... So here's my take on it. Number 1, Strange New Worlds is basically TNG Part 2. And the reason I say that is just because these stories just feel spot on. Like, and so Strange New Worlds is the name of the first episode. And you get this thing where we have to try to figure out...
That was on the table.
Okay. That's good. Where, you got to find number 1. And number 1's doing a first contact mission with someone who they believe is to be pre-warp or after warp.
Well, they find out
it's a warp bomb created from them studying what happened at the at the battle to get Discovery into the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an incredibly Star Trek story.
That is an amazing connection and fallout. There are stories like this, but I'm slow to have the episodes come to mind. But episodes that are based off of fallout from previous episodes.
Yeah.
At least in my recollection, strong episodes.
Absolutely.
Because
the narrative.
Obviously, actions have consequences, guys.
Absolutely. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. So the thing that I kind of really took from, this first episode was like the homage paid to the Kelvin story, right? Like we have, it's not just any ship that Luna is riding on to get towards that first contact. It is the actual USS Kelvin.
I didn't even think about this until Jordan said this, because I was like, oh, it's the Kelvin, like the ship. Cool. Awesome. Hell yeah. Jordan's like, that was a thing that is like whether or not this is gonna be good is whether or not is what that ship was gonna look like.
Absolutely.
It's cool to see the Kelvin, and it's a recognizable ship because like that name rung a bell in the back of my head. I just didn't know why.
Right.
That was why.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's that callback. I mean, Alex Kurtzman obviously was the creator of those, with J.J. Abrams of those movies. And so, he knows it. He knows Star Trek. Right. And so I really appreciated the design of the ship. I mean, it stuck true to what they did in Star Trek 2009.
Yeah.
Right. And it stuck true to what we know of like the ship design from the current standards.
Yeah.
And so it was fantastic to see that. And then, as we get through the episode, it's a lot of kind of like, here and there, they go on the little adventure and everything like that.
Warp bomb. What a great idea.
Right.
I like never considered that. It's like, because it's always been warp being the key to being forgive me for using the term advanced, being reaching a step to the Federation's like you could join the greater galaxy.
Right.
And become a part of this thing that's bigger than yourself.
Right.
Because you've made this step. It never occurred to me that a pre-warp civilization with our level of scopes and scientific instruments would make a bomb out of.
Right.
And that's doubled down even more as, like you said, they go through and learn about why this is a thing.
Yeah.
And then you have probably, I think, one of my top speeches from a captain to an alien species.
Oh my God. Absolutely. Like how he comes in. He's like,
hi.
Yeah.
Let me help you for a second. We maybe visually be very different. I'm obviously not from your world, but our world went through something very similar to what's happening on your planet now. Enterprise, could you beam down my little PowerPoint presentation?
Right.
Here, let me show you January 6th.
Right. Star Trek's woke.
Which I'm like, oh shit, just got real.
They just straight called it out.
Like fucking like there is like you had like DS9's trip backwards to the camps, and that actually being a bill that was being proposed in California at the same time. Which like I think like from what I've learned, that at that point was probably the most spot on thing that's like, oh, Star Trek's prophetic. Well, no, they're just much better about being in touch with society.
That's right.
And stuff that really is going to be, until it's fixed, until we're in a Star Trek future, is a very common problem.
Absolutely.
That's one not easily fixed and has multiple causes for existing.
Right.
And yes, like you said, the outpost, the tons of posts, mainly from Sox News.
Yeah. We should put we're gonna put up a meme, and it was since when did Star Trek get woke? And it's Gene Roddenberry going 1966. So
like it's
with the beginning.
What part of like non-material needs utopia soft socialist
right
space exploration story and getting along with each other and talking about stuff and not openly promoting wars as the solution to stuff. What part of that did you guys miss? Because I think I was pretty clear about this stuff.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. I mean, the first episode was a direct take on the world today, right? And
which real quick, I know we're not talking about it, but having that paired up with Picard ending.
Oh my god!
Which was taking place 2024.
Right.
Which already has your mind, the viewers triggered into triggered, but like tuned in to the modern day idea, and then have your first episode of the new show fresh off of the heels of Picard.
Yeah.
Being directly referencing January 6th. Dude.
Star Trek's got Star Trek's got something to say right now.
Yeah. There's a lot to say.
There's a lot to say.
So,
they're going to use their platform, and that's one thing we'll talk about at the end of this podcast. Like the whole thing that we based this podcast on was the relationship between Star Wars and Star Trek. And what's happening right now, and I'm loving seeing, is those walls are starting to come down a little bit because of ants and mounts. So, as we get into the episode 2, very much an Uhura episode, and I really loved the idea of how the communication happened with that species. And I really just it felt like what the last couple episodes of Discovery season 4 should have been in a lot of ways. Just like the way that
was, forgive me, I'm a bit rustier on
it was
on
with
the
that
stories.
that
it was the egg one.
The egg one, yeah.
I do want to, before we jump into that, I do want to make reference on again how good episode 1 was with establishing character dynamics, was chasing down that dude who escaped from medbay.
Yeah.
And Nurse Chapel and
Uhura
getting along and made like really well, and the way that Uhura handled the situation in the elevator by using not only her knowledge of the language, but knowledge that she learned of the culture and entertainment, of pop culture there, to help calm him down.
Yeah. Was so cool.
Was so incredibly awesome and badass.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And I mentioned this to you when the episode aired, that this is if Hoshi could apply her skills and have less of the energy spent on the translation and more of the culture.
Right.
And Hoshi, I wish she was better utilized.
Agreed.
But seeing Uhura be so smart and so badass.
Yeah.
To using her skills to call him like fantastic. Okay. Again, Uhura gushing out of the way. Episode 2.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Uhura season 2, like episode 2 is an Uhura episode.
Yeah.
And it's just once again, it's a classic Trek, right? It's just that it's that one-off story. It's, the Shepherd is such a fascinating good bad guy, and this comet that's flying towards this planet and is going to destroy the civilization, and meanwhile the Shepherd's like, it's always meant to happen this way, right?
You just didn't know it, but you not knowing it helped
it happen.
It's essentially the bootstrap paradox.
That's right. Yeah. What's interesting about it too is, like, at the very end of the episode, the Shepherd is like, maybe next time you won't be so quick to judge.
Yeah.
Right. And you see Pike acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a powerful moment. It's powerful any person to really, like, admit when you're wrong. And you see Pike, like, see that, and then it helps him kind of, like, in his own personal journey that he's going through as well, I feel, because in the next episode we don't hear about that.
I think, and you saying that makes me think about the short track about Spock asking number 1 about Pike. As I don't remember the whole quote, but it's
he has this ability
his capacity to like make decisions, and then but it's only surpassed by his ability to listen to others. / in this case, admit when he's wrong.
Yes, that's
why.
Why.
Like the confidence, the leadership, but also the humility and no sense of being grandiose or superior because of his station, because of what he's done.
Right, and you see it right at the beginning.
The value is not of the one, but of the whole of the team.
Right, and you see it right at the beginning of season 2 Disco.
Yeah.
Right, like he's like, here's all my accomplishments, including my F in astrophysics. And that's the thing. Like, Pike is such a uniquely genuine character, and I think what Una says is his ability to understand is only outstripped by his ability to listen to those around him, or something. It was something like that.
It's the same quote that.
Basically, she's just saying that, like, he's incredibly in touch, right? And the reason I think that he's becoming my favorite Star Trek captain, and that's really saying
that's saying a lot,
is because of how emotionally intelligent he is,
and aware to others as well.
Right, like that dinner scene in episode 2.
Exactly, yeah.
Like that's the only other thing like episode 2 was kind of like just a really good standalone episode.
Yeah.
But that dinner scene, like, you really, like, when he opens the door and he just laughs at her in the uniform, and he's like, what does he say? What is it?
I don't remember.
It's something, but like you just see him smile and laugh and just be like, he gets it.
Yeah.
And it's fun for him. And how genuine he is with Uhura.
Yeah, when she opens up about not knowing if she belongs there.
Yeah.
And not knowing where she belongs.
And then Spock at the end of the episode when he's like, look, I know you may not know what you want right now, but Starfleet would be very lucky to have you. And it's such just like, because that Spock and her work together for like the next 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's just the beginning of that relationship. And I found that episode was really great at kind of establishing that beginning of that foundation between those two characters, which are going to have a very, very long history. And we know from Picard season 2 that she wound up becoming a captain of a ship.
Yeah.
Right? And so I love, like, Nichelle Nichols did so much for Star Trek and did so much for black rights and women's rights and black women's rights, right? Like, what she has done is amazing. And, you know, for Celia Gooding to portray this, I mean, like, it's the ultimate honor is being bestowed upon Uhura's character. Like, I thought that Zoe Saldana was okay, but
but like, I love this
version. Like, once again, like the Strange New Worlds just makes me forget more and more about the Kelvin timeline. Like, this is
not for long, but
well, we got a movie coming up, but I think this is going to be the last movie with them, I believe. And so, so into episode 3, I mean, the Gorn episode. I mean,
Gorn episode, fantastic episode of not seeing them at all.
Makes me happy.
Just the ship. Maybe we'll see them. Maybe we won't. I'm fine with not seeing them.
Don't need to,
because like, just like expand on the Gorn. That was a great way of making them a legitimate threat.
Yeah.
Essentially, in this case, they acted very much like the Borg, where they played the you can't reason with them. They're unstoppable. They're a menace.
They're a menace. Yeah. Well,
get me pictures of the Gorn.
Off topic, I need to actually like look at the episode list because I'm like, what's the next
yeah, thinking about it. Yeah. The episode also kind of felt a little alien, and a mix of alien and not Periscope Down. That's the wrong movie.
Right.
Hunt for October. That's the one. That's the sub movie.
So I actually am going to go ahead and come out and admit that episode 3 was not the Gorn episode.
Oh,
that was
no,
episode
Jordan.
4. Yeah.
Oh no. So we're gonna skip to episode 4, and since we're
so we're already talking about it. You know, I mean, I had to like look at my phone, going,
oopsies.
Oops. So,
the Gorn was really good. And
God.
The episode being like this mix of Alien and Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
The thing.
The Hunt for Red October was
It was like when you do something similar to stuff we've seen before, but use your own science fiction.
It also harkens back to
so
Star Trek
good.
2.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in the fight in the Mutara Nebula
with Khan.
Nebula with Khan. Yeah, I mean, it's that cat and mouse game. It's that, you know, like, I love that. Why
they
is
let
that
us
one
destroy an entire ship so they could get our location.
Right. Well, and I also love the fact that it's like they're looking at the blips and it's like, why is that one so much bigger? Ortega's is great. Yeah. Oh, and I love the fact that the Gorn ship design is based loosely off of the Star Trek Online ships, which just makes me happy. You know, what's interesting is after that episode, I read an article, and it was from a scientist who actually it studies like reptiles and how they hunt. And the running down and the running out of energy is very much a real thing, and
it's good to see that they paid that level of attention.
Oh yeah, it just makes them more menacing. It just makes it more fascinating, right? Like,
aside, making them seem and look and feel a lot cooler than the rubber suit.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I'd rather not that be our only other experience with the Gorn, because like, it was such a bad fight scene.
Good old Kirk double hand fist punch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what was episode 3?
So that's Ghosts of Illyria, and that was the one.
That's right. Jordan, how could you forget that episode?
I know.
That was because you got a good. I don't know if obviously
that was
being the original series being 2 pilots.
Right.
I don't know if that was ever expanded on that with number
Illyrians?
1.
Or with number 1, no. This is all
new,
all completely new, and I actually find it really fascinating.
I love it because you have. I mean, one that like partially separates number one, makes her unique without without any prosthetics.
Right, exactly.
But also you get to again, what the show has been doing really well is doing that focus on a character, doing a little deep dive, a little jump into expanding the character in a big way, and it slowly being pieced throughout the episode. What happened? Things, and also Spock reading the cylinder, and it's like, well, and Pike going, well, couldn't you just jump to the end?
Spock is like, what is he's like? The hypothetical pot never boils if you watch it. And it's just like, oh my god! Like
we also get so many like really good quotes from Ethan Peck's Spock.
Oh, we do. We really
love
do.
It. I can't get enough of them. They're
Neither can
so
I.
Good because it's so that is one of the things that made Spock super endearing.
Yes,
in the original series is the little jokes,
is the little jabs,
the jabs, the joke, the like stuff that make people laugh.
Right, and he does it without like it's
without
almost
something, and oftentimes without even trying.
Exactly, which is just endearing as hell.
Is so funny when you get in episode 2 where you have him Spock trying to be encouraging motivation of both of those two talks sounding more like doomsday things, and then when he's just saying what he thinks,
right,
it's super motivational and inspiring.
And
I love
Spock is great. Like it's been a treat, like with the three of them.
You have the Illyrians obviously like wanting to join the Federation on that, and so them going back, and if I remember correctly, like them going back was what ultimately was the result of the end of their civilization, because of
the ion storms.
I don't think is something that has been touched on Star Trek before. I don't think where you see the cost is stated that because of stuff that only happened to Earth, and thus because Earth is a founding member,
right?
That's incorporated into the Federation policy, ends up hurting a civilization, dooming a civilization,
right?
Which thrived off of doing genetic enhancements.
Yeah. Same thing as Picard season 1.
Yeah, ultimately being wiped out, in trying to seek out joining the Federation just because of that one stipulation, which actually gives me a lot of hope that something like that is carried into Discovery.
Yeah.
Because
agreed.
It's a fresh start.
It really is.
On top of the fact that Ferengi and Klingon had joined the Federation pre-burn. I know we're not talking about this, but I hope we see a little bit more of history of that, because it's gonna be weird if like we have to wait 80 years for a story to be told about the pre-burn generations,
right? Yeah, didn't think about that.
I'd like to get some lore on that. That's an aspect where I'm gonna pull some Star Wars energy from.
Yeah,
let's go back and tell a story about that.
They can, and I'm sure they will. Like at some point, now that they've got that established timeline. So
I feel like I took over on that episode 3. What do you think on
Overall, oh yeah, yeah, you did. Honestly, like I just thought it was a great, just overall character study for the entire crew. Each person kind of had their own little part to play.
You also had Noonien Singh, Spock, and Uhura, all like awkwardly like socializing to try to solve a problem. Which
that's episode 2 for.
That's
with Noonien Singh. The thing with that happened, right. And with the Ghost of Illyria was she had that confrontation with Una, because because I mean obviously she's a descendant of Khan, and she had been very adamant that augments were not to be like it's a bad thing, and she had been teased about that, and so those moments like that fight that they have in engineering. And then the fight that, or not the fight, but the talk that they had in the lounge afterwards, I thought was incredible character studies. Just from the sense of like the way forgiveness works, right? And it starts by understanding, like, I think La'an, she did a really good job of putting herself not first but second in that situation to try to understand Una's position better.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an incredibly human moment, and one that I think a lot of us actually need to stop and think about. We need to often like stop and like put ourselves in other people's shoes to really understand.
Going to extremes, no matter how right you feel that they are, doesn't build bridges in understanding, and that's always, I mean, obviously I'm all for like, if I like, I'm all for these things of like completely stripping down everything that's broken and snap fingers and everything's fixed,
right?
All the problem and problem creators gone.
Right.
That's not how you build great things.
That's right.
Because if you can just push one aspect, one ideal, one thing in whatever situation, that you're not achieving the most that could benefit everyone.
Right.
And that's always an important thing to remember, is too far on either side is a dangerous thing. Absolutely.
And it's such an interesting way of like the way they tell this story, and specifically in this episode with the Ghost of Illyria, like nothing is black and white.
Yeah.
Nothing in life is black and white. The next episode,
5,
that is probably among my favorite so far is Spock Amok. And
Spock Amok was a much needed, like really goofy, like it was funny, way more comedy driven than I was expecting, and I enjoyed it. Me too. That was fun.
It was just
the Freaky Friday aspect.
It was Freaky Friday, but it was also just like this really lighthearted story. And you got the exploration of like, I get to see specifically like Nurse Chapel and how she, like, hold on. Sorry. Work thing. You get to see Nurse Chapel like in her own struggles, because everything that we've seen of her so far is like the super positive, super like awesome person, and you get to see her kind of like go through this relation, like she's with I think might be Detmer's brother. I need to like watch the subtitles on that scene.
But like where she has her own like it's not perfect in Chapel World where like she has her own needs that aren't getting met, and she has her own worries and fears that lead to kind of a detached kind of aspect of how she goes about life because she's scared of it becoming too serious.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Is like an interesting little thing that they did is because a big story in the original series was how she fell in love with a robot.
Right.
So Spock is kind of like in between of that. So it's really interesting. Like she's obviously got the hots for him, and
yeah, clearly, I would love to. Part of me would love to see that, but also I'd also love to see her in Ortegas.
Yeah. Also, as well, like T'Pring, the actress that plays T'Pring, is hot. Number one, and number two, an amazing actress, and I love the dynamic between her and Spock. It's just so good.
Again, a deep dive on a character study of those two characters.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, T'Pring doesn't get a whole bunch of screen time on TOS. It's like
one episode.
Yeah. And it's I want a divorce.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, huh? Spock, you were married? Which I'm like, we'll just forget about that part that you saw her on the Enterprise before.
Right. Yeah.
Well, actually not on Enterprise. It was on the base.
That's right.
But I guess Chapel was out of that picture though by that time, and so was Pike. So
exactly.
Aside from Uhura, there isn't anyone else. No. So actually that actually works out pretty well. I didn't actually put all that together until right now.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, like I mean you get to kind of see the lighter side of Spock, and you get to see just the lighter side of the whole crew. It just seems like it's a lot of fun.
And just the character growth, and like, hey, realizing stuff about each other and whatnot, understanding, and also sex outside of Ponfar. It can happen.
Which makes sense.
Because, hey, I mean, that is also applicable to just people as well. So,
right.
Right.
Yeah.
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 my brain made a weird connection. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yep. So, and then, for episode 6, and the one that we just saw this last week, incredible episode. I thought that it was a very interesting study on Pike's character. And it was a very classic Trek episode. It was just
deep and darker than
we've really seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was plugging a kid into a machine, I mean, that's pretty hardcore. And you weren't quite sure who was the good guy and who was the bad guy.
You didn't know, you weren't aware that you thought that the bad guy was the people off world doing the thing, but they aren't.
Yeah.
Though their actions would lead to the collapse of the floating city planet into the planet if that isn't going to happen. But also, child sacrifice is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And also, who? There is no right.
And
there's just levels of what they think is the right thing.
Right, and it's a study about really. Star Trek has been really doing a good job of pointing out the flaws of its own ethos, and I think this is definitely one of those.
And the one thing that is natural for Pike, the thing that Pike always does, almost the solution to everything, is go back in there, gun, for phasers blazing essentially.
Yeah.
And you'll save the
child.
You'll save the thing in need in the nick of time. And in this case, that's something he can't do.
Yeah. And he has to live with it.
And the fact that he helped in that unknowingly
is going to weigh on him, and it's going to change his character, and we're going to see the ramifications of it, man. Like,
but that's a hard. That's a hard thing because, like, if they didn't, the city planet falls.
Yeah.
And so, what's weighing on your conscience more, like the fact that you help kill a child and save the needs of the many and the few? Prime there, and there isn't actually a correct answer in this. And on retrospect of this episode, I initially criticized this episode. I was talking with Jordan about how the initial message of whatever her face is talking to Pike about how can you say that your federation is any different, that people don't suffer, that serve the greater good. And I'm like, okay, but no, because like Earth is a paradise, and for the most part the worst thing that can happen is a war where kids who have parents in Starfleet die in that war.
Right.
But your needs are taken care of.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know. And, like, the same thing with, like, I mean, Kronos, like, Klingons, but, like, that's their culture, and it's not built off of the back of killing, parents, kids to perpetuate their civilization.
Right.
The only thing the only thing could be Section 31, but it's not in a state where that's a different. I mean, yes, Section 31, but it's difficult.
It is. It really is.
That being said, this episode, I haven't rewatched a whole bunch of episodes of Strange New Worlds, but this is one I did. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this again and not look at it through the in-universe eyes.
Right.
And the message being, this is how things have always been. We can't change it.
Right.
We don't know why these choices were made, but this is how we've been doing them for centuries. And I'm like,
sounds awful familiar, doesn't it?
Sounds really familiar, guys.
Yeah.
Man, just because it's the way we've been doing things doesn't mean that it's the right way.
Right.
And so, it's a really, really good episode.
It is. It's powerful.
I got hung up on that first watch thinking through the episode universe eyes. That is a fantastically written episode.
It really is.
I love that.
All
episode.
of them so far have been fantastically written.
Absolutely amazing. And we have 2 more episodes. Three
more episodes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, so the idea is for when it comes to our podcast kind of going forward is we're going to be kind of focusing a little bit more on Star Wars at the moment. We would rather just kind of do the last 3 as kind of like a review that we just did. Mm-hmm. And then we will definitely like talk more about the theming of it. And, we just kind of wanted to get back into talking about Star Trek. But we're going to, our next couple podcasts are definitely going to be.
It's going to be a lot more focused. It's going to be more, all episodes are going to be a little bit more focused instead of splitting the time half and half with the show.
Exactly.
We're going to be having episodes focused to one or the other, or also having an episode entirely dedicated to only making connections.
Right, exactly. Just a little bit more focused.
It's gonna flow a lot better if we do that. That way we can give the full roughly hour length full focus to the series and our thoughts. So the next one's probably gonna be the post Kenobi, and then the one after that probably the post.
Well, I think next week, I mean, we can probably
do a mix.
I think a mix. Like, why don't next week, like, we just review both episodes? I think that would be a great way, because we're coming up on it, and we can just talk about each episode.
I would agree, but we record 2 episodes, so that would be 2 weeks if we do one release.
Heard that.
So
we're cutting this part.
Yes. So we could probably.
We will get back to you.
Yeah, we'll definitely. The next one will definitely be a Kenobi.
Yeah, it will be a Kenobi episode for sure. So, as I said, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on some Star Wars going forward, just for the next couple weeks. But
because Star Trek is constantly ongoing,
it's
in the in between times. We're gonna have a lot of in between wars times for Trek times.
Exactly. So. This season coming up, we're not sure how many episodes this season coming up, but I think seasons wise, I think it kind of works out for us.
I mean, we could go for old fashioned 30-ish episodes in a season.
How about 10?
We could go the modern one.
Yeah, we're gonna go modern because we're a couple of modern white guys and with beards, and so we podcast, and so.
We're not gonna go 6 like a limited series run.
No,
that's what we did.
That's what we did last time.
That's what we did last time.
You guys would actually
extended version of limited series.
Yeah, if you guys would only know how much we recorded without actually putting anything out.
Yeah, we actually had like 3 other episodes.
We might drop the Bad Batch reaction. Actually,
I don't remember if we did or not.
No, we didn't.
We didn't?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
So we might.
Yeah.
So we recorded the first episode of Bad Batch like as a reaction. We just kind of like had the microphones in front of us and we watched it. And
that's why it was the clips. I edited up the clips.
So there's some stuff we might drop from what we may have done. We may have done like my cool thing might be like a best of or something like that. But going forward, we're just going to kind of focus on being a little bit more focused, and that was really deep. And so I think Star Trek: Strange New World has been fantastic. Comment on Picard season 2, it was absolutely fantastic. Season 4 of Discovery was okay. The more I look back on it, it was kind of.
It was good. It just got overshadowed by Picard.
It got overshadowed by Picard and the different storytelling and just so we'll talk more about that later on, but
we'll have ample time.
Ample time. So Apple time. So
get those Granny Smiths.
That's right.
Those Gala apples.
I think in our last podcast we definitely dropped the ball on the outro, and so I will take the outro this time. So Matt, you have anything to say? Anything deep?
No, I don't have a funny one for you.
All right.
Brush your cats.
Brush your cats. That's a good one. I will leave you with a question. Can a ball fall over? Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Later, guys.